Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolours. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hello everyone and welcome back to Painted Watercolours with me, Colin, and these are the colours I'm going to be using for this one today. Raw sienna, alizarin crimson, cobalt blue, burnt sienna, neutral tint and moss green. I've wet my paper and dried off the boat and the sails, and I just re-wetted around the sails and things, so I'm just going to drop some raw sienna into the sky. I always say to people, make your skies interesting. Some alizarin crimson, be careful with this, it can be a bit fugitive. You can get permanent alizarin crimson. And just bring these two colours together, allowing it to mix with the raw sienna. It doesn't matter if it comes into the sea. But while we're here, I'm just going to drop some moss green in, just around the boat, just for a little bit of green, a light patch. A couple of colour, I want to take some cobalt blue, and I'm going to take a little bit of crimson in that, just to give it a little violet tint. Maybe a little bit more, a bluey violet, some neutral tint to grey it. Want a violet colour? Yes, I think we'll have that. That looks good. Okay. Just get this on. Not forgetting the light bits between the sails where the sky's poking through. I sometimes miss that, so I'll just remind you. These are just the initial washes going on for the sea. It's just getting colour in. And I want to mix up a stronger colour with that, some burnt sienna. Alizarin crimson a little bit. And into this I'm just going to drop some cloud. Creating some interesting cloud shapes. Drop a little in here just for some variation into that wash. Leaving some of the underwash to show through. Once again, just adding a little bit into the sea. Then I'm going to take a kitchen towel, kitchen roll, and just roll some tops out. Just creating some extra interest. And I'm not pressing, I'm just allowing the towel to roll and pick up paint. Oh, that's showing up on the camera. This can give you a really interesting sky with very little effort. Okay, and then I'm going to leave that to dry. Now that's dry, I've just re-wet every other sail. That one, that one, that one and that one. And then I'm going to take some of the cobalt blue and I'm going to put some shadow in on these, and I'm going to put some neutral tint into that. But I still want it on the bluey side before we just keep going gradually darker. So let's put the first shadow in. There's a little bit of yellow in this sail, so I think I'll add that in as well. A tiny bit, very pale, a little bit more than that. With there being water on the sail, like I've said it before, it helps you manoeuvre the paint around. This is £140 Bockingford extra rough paper. Use these shadows to separate your sails and give direction darker up here. More of the cobalt blue, some more of the neutral tint, a little darker this time. I'll take a little detail brush for this, just check its colour against the other one. Possibly a little darker, I think. And I'm adding this while it's all still nice and wet, before we add the final shade on top. A couple of directional strokes. Always leaving some of the other colour showing through. And leaving some white for the sail. You could paint this dry and then just manoeuvre it with a damp brush. That is completely up to you. And then I'm just going to let this dry off a minute. Now that's dried off a bit, I'm adding some more neutral tint to this, making it a little bit darker. I'm using a detail brush for this. And then I'm going to let that dry. Now the first set of sails are dry. Back to my raw sienna, very pale, almost like a stain. There's a bit of yellow in this one. I've re-wet the sails, a little bit of yellow in this one. And taking some of our first colour, cobalt blue and a neutral tint. I want this to be very pale. If you do get your sails too strong, you can always wait till they're dry and then just sponge it out a little. A little directional. Just taking a damp brush to that and just manoeuvring this about a little. Taking a little more neutral tint to that. Very watery this. darker along the bottom of this one. Just a little bit more shadow up here. There's quite a few things on this deck you can't really make a great deal from, so what I'm going to do is just add little bits of stuff. With the brush, almost nondescript things, bits and pieces on the deck kind of thing. Who knows what it is? I'll separate that out with some light and dark later. Just put a bit of light in on here. Some neutral, it should be darker than that. That's better. Just added some thicker neutral tint to the palette. So we put the Pro in. So this could be almost anything, as long as it looks a bit like something. Whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, take some of the. I'm going to take a thicker version of this green. I think I did say it was moss green, but actually it's olive green. I'm just going to drop a little bit of this in. While we're waiting for the sails to dry, I'm just going to wash little sections of this out, just creating some light and dark patches. Take some of the cobalt blue and add that into there, and a little bit more crimson. That looks a nice colour. And maybe we can begin to add some movement into the water. Taking a little damp brush and just washing that out. Bringing it together with the green. Strengthen it up once again. I don't want too much movement in the water. Soften some of it in. Then I'm going to let that dry. Now that all your sails are dry, I just put the mast in with a mixture of burnt sienna and raw sienna. And then I just dropped in some neutral tint down the mast and the booms. You didn't really miss anything with that. When it comes to the bolts, and I just want to leave the white areas, so I'm just negatively painting round them. I also want to drop in some cobalt blue in places. Just to change it up slightly. And it doesn't all end up one colour. Gives it a subtle difference in places, that's all. And I just put that in with a little bit of raw sienna. Just put a couple of sailors in, a flick of the brush. So the boat is actually pitch black, but you want to leave a little blue in it just to give some variation. And I want to take some of the olive green And then into that I'm just going to drop a little tiny bit of cobalt blue and also a little bit of neutral tint. Just to add that really dark green to it. On the tops of some of these I just want to bring this out a little bit. This will make the highlights really show up. I'm just going to add a little bit of that into this cobalt blue, making a real green grey. Always allowing some of the other colour to show through. Once again, just taking a damp brush, softening the edges out to nothing. And before we put the highlights on, we're going to have to let that dry, and I will put the rigging in. Okay, that's the rigging put in. Often what I could see from it, there's a fair bit more, but I couldn't see where it all went. It all seemed to blur. There's enough in to make this picture work. Like I say, it's not a technical drawing. I'm just picking out some highlights with some Magello Mission Gold titanium white. I really like this paint. It covers really, really well. Just picking out the tops of some of these waves in front. I'll put a few seagulls in, and this is where you get around to signing it, put a mount around it and frame it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.